In this video, we are going to discuss sectors and multi-sectors. So what is a sector and a multi-sector within CostrixIQ? So think of a project as an entire pie. A sector is a slice of the pie. And sectors can be of different sizes, different size slices, but they make up a portion of the project as a whole. And so in CostrixIQ, you can break up a project into small portions, and then you can analyze and report on those small portions or on the pie as a whole. So within the CostrixIQ system, when you come to set up sectors, there is a tab called sectors. So if you go into that tab, on the left-hand side, you can see there is an alt sectors, which reflects your entire project. And then you have sectors 1 to 20. So in this system, you have the ability to break a project up into 20 sectors, 20 pieces of pie. And so you can name your sector, and you can also give it a measurement or an area or a rate, so that you can report on dollars per square meter or per square foot or dollars per room or so forth. And so you can set your sectors up in the sectors tab. And then in the cost planner itself, when you're doing your takeoffs or you're scoping out the works early, what you're doing is you're adding in the quantities into the relevant sector, as you can see here. And so for an example, sector 3, costs go into sector 3, sector 4 costs go into sector 4, sector 5 costs go into sector 5. And just by doing that small data manipulation, the system can break up a project into portions, and you can analyze it in those portions. You can report to the client in those portions. Now, when you're working on your cost plan, you may want to isolate the view. So you have the ability to open and close sectors. So I'm going to close sectors and just work on sector 1. So I can go into my cost planner and I can just see sector 1. I may want to look at sector 1 and sector 3. I can come in and now I can see sector 1 and sector 3. Or I want to look at the whole project in total, including aggregates. And now the project is opened out in totality. And so that is how you can create a sector, how you can estimate, cost plan, scope per sector, and how you can adjust the user interface to make sure that you're focusing on the correct sector at any one time. Now, how does sectors report in CostrixIQ? So while you may have your dashboard for your total project, if you break a project up into individual sectors, you can start to see the same type of analytics broken down per sector. So you can start to see portions of the pie, but the same metrics across those. So selling numbers, costing numbers, gross profit numbers. And while you can look at a project as a whole on a section basis and open that out as a project as a whole, you can also understand per sector. So if I was to zoom in a little bit, I can see this is the pie as a whole, but this is sector 1, this is sector 2, this is sector 3, this is sector 4, and so on. I can see different profitability levels in each sector. I can understand sections and what ones are more profitable per slice, price per square meter or square foot or per room, percentage of project total. So I have the same analytics as the job as a whole as I do have on the individual sectors. And then similarly, I may want to report to the client as a job as a whole or in individual sectors. And so on our reports tab, I have the ability to pick a report, such as a summary report for the total project, or I may want to break that up and provide a summary report on the individual elements within that. And then for example, I can run this report and show you what this report looks like. So I've now run my summary reports for this scenario. I have my summary report for the total project, but very quickly, I can also see in this instance, sector 1, which was called suite 3.01, 3.02, 3.03, 4.04, 4.06, 7.01, 8.01, and bathroom upgrades. So I can report to the client as the project or the pie as a whole, or the pieces of the pie with all the individual metrics that relate to that, which assists our clients when it comes to approving budgets. They may have different CapEx budgets and the like. And so that is how sectors work within the system. Now, what is a multi-sector? So while we have the total project and individual sectors, so we have our individual sectors, or we have all sectors. It takes all the sectors as a whole. Sometimes when you're working with a client very early, they're running multiple scenarios. And so you may need, as opposed to produce an all sectors report, you may need to combine these sectors in a number of configurations based on different options to the client. And so in this example, let me take you through this landlord example where I have a project. I have 7 spec suites that the landlord is looking at undertaking and some bathroom upgrades. I have spec suite 3.01, 3.02 and 3.03 on level 3. On level 4, I have 4.04 and 4.06. On level 7, I have 7.01, and on level 8, I have 8.01, and there are some bathroom upgrades that I may be doing to an area. Now, in this scenario, the project may not be all of these sectors. It still may be early. The landlord's looking for optionality. They want to understand the cost of this work, but they may not go for all of it. They may go for some combination of it, but we don't even know what combination they're going for. And so in this instance, instead of creating multiple cost plans in multiple systems and having variations of that all separated, CostrixIQ centralizes all of that. So you still have the one system managing all these scenarios all at once. And the way we do that is through multi-sectors here on the right. And so I've set up this project with a multi-sector A, which I've called level 3 suites. Now the level 3 suites are in sectors 1, 2, and 3. So I've selected sectors 1, 2, and 3. And so multi-sector A will reflect suite 301, 302, and 303 only. Multi-sector B, I've highlighted as level 4 suites. My level 4 suites are sectors 4 and 5. And so I have selected 4 and 5. I then have my level 7 suites and my level 8 suites. Now, the thing with multi-sectors is there might be an element of the project that may be repeated in multiple scenarios. And so with multi-sectors, it allows you to add individual modules multiple times. So it's not like it has to only appear in one multi-sector. And this is how we can run multiple scenarios to our clients in a very succinct, optimized way where we don't have to redo our work. Everything's centralized. And so, for example, in this project, the landlord may have said, give me an option where I'm only going to do suites 301, 404, and 7.01. So I'm going to do 301, 404, and 701. So basically sectors 1, 4, and 6. So I give it a label. I tag sectors 1, 4, and 6. And all of a sudden, multi-sector E will reflect that scenario. And then there might be another scenario where the landlord goes, look, I may do that, but I may also do only the level 3 suites and the bathroom upgrades. I'm still not sure. Can I have a report that shows me the level 3 suites and the bathroom upgrades only? And so therefore I've created multi-sector F, which takes the level 3 suites, which is sectors 1, 2, and 3. And I've added the bathroom upgrades to that scenario, sector 8. And so I'm building up my multi-sectors. You can see sector 1 appears in multi-sector A, multi-sector E, and multi-sector F. You can have the same scope of works appearing in multiple scenarios, hence the term multi-sector. To give you just an indication of how to add these is very easy. If I wanted multi-sector B just to reflect sector 4 and not 5, I can click sector 5 and it will remove. Or I may want to add sector 5 to it. I click sector 5 and it adds to it. So it's very easy to manipulate, adjust. So how can you analyze these metrics within the system? Because we've done the hard work. We've priced this work in sectors to start with. So we have now the flexibility to analyze the scope in smaller pieces and report on the scope in smaller pieces. So if we look at our sectors, we can see our individual sectors and our multi-sectors. So this is where we have a dashboard called summary per sector and a multi-sectors dashboard. If I go to my summary per sector, just to reiterate, I have my all sectors. This is everything combined. Now, there may be early on in a project where scenarios are being played out and you understand that not all areas are going to be undertaken. So your all sectors may not actually be relevant because you know some of this scope will not proceed, but you're not sure which element of it. So in that instance, you won't look at your all sectors. You'll start looking at multi-sectors. So in here, I can see suite 3.01 is 291,000 at 5%. Suite 3.02 is 162,000 at 31%. Suite 3.01 is nearly 30%, 600,000, 500,000 for suite 4.04, 288,000 for suite 4.06. Suite 7.01 is 100,000. Suite 8.01 is 450,000 and so forth. The bathroom upgrades are 350 odd thousand with the profitability. So I can see the individual pieces of pie, but now I want to understand the multiple combinations of these depending on what the client may decide to go for. And so I can click the multi-sectors tab, and all of a sudden what you are seeing here is now you still see the all sectors, just to show you a summary. But now as I scroll along, I can see multi-sector A level 3 suites. I can see if we just proceed with the level 3 suites, it's just over $1 million at 23%. I can analyze GP, price per square meter, percentage of total. So I have all the same metrics I have as standard, but now I can analyze it on those sectors. I can see what my level 4 suites are, my level 7 suites, my level 8 suites. Now I can also see what would the project be if the landlord just went with 3.01, 4.04 and 7.01. It'd be an $896,000 project at 17% gross profit. So interestingly, while the all sectors, if I put everything together, it's 25%. Level 3 sits at 23. Level 4 sits at 21. Level 7 sits at 32. Level 8 sits at 28. Just taking suite 301, 404, and 701, my gross profit drops drastically. And so obviously they are lower gross profit ones. So if I look at 301, 404, and 701, 301 is sitting at 5%. 404 is sitting at 21, and 801 is sitting at 28. And so that 5% in sector 1, 3.01, that is pulling down this scenario. So I can see actually if they go with this scenario, not only is my gross profit only at 17%, as opposed to potentially if they took everything 25%, if they took everything, I'd make $695,000 of profit. In this scenario, it's just $156,000 of profit. So this is quite an unfavorable scenario if the landlord goes with it. Similarly, another sector multi-sector we looked at was what if the landlord just proceeded with the level 3 suites and the bathroom upgrades, multi-sector F. I can look at multi-sector F, and I can see if they go with multi-sector F, it's a $1.4 million project at 25% gross profit, $365,000 profitability. And so very quickly, I can analyze multiple scenarios, connecting multiple sectors in an unlimited number of ways to analyze the project and understand where is my profit position and what scenario best suits us. Now, when it comes to reporting, you can also report to the client on multi-sectors. And so I can come to my reports, and opposed to selecting the reports, from the sectors area, I can scroll to the right and I can select reports for multi-sectors. And so similarly, I might select all these scenarios for the multi-sectors and run these summary reports, which I'll do now. So we now have our multi-sector reports produced. So you can see I still have a summary report showing level 3 in its totality. I have another report showing level 4, level 7, and level 8. I have a summary report that shows suite 3.01, 4.04, and 7.01. And I have another one with the level 3 works and the bathroom upgrades. And so you can see very quickly, I can report to the client on multiple scenarios all at the same time without having to duplicate my work or create multiple versions of the same file or create multiple instances within a software program that aren't connected. Everything here is connected. You can analyze it and adjust on the run. And so similarly with the reports, with these reports, I may even want to connect them together. So I might say, give me an all sectors, give me level 3 suites, because I'm going to report on level 3 together. Level 4, I'm going to give an individual breakdown. So I'm going to pick 404 and 406. I then might pick suite 7, suite 8. I might give the bathroom upgrades individually. And then I might give that scenario where we have 301, 404, and 701 together, and the bathroom, level 3 and bathroom upgrades. And so I can now run a report that combines any combination whatsoever of sectors, either sectors by themselves or multi-sectors, and present that information to the client instantly without having to come in and redo any of the core work. We're just linking them in a more efficient way. And once the client says, yes, let's go with multi-sector E, that's the project I want to go with, we can adjust our cost plan accordingly. We can then combine using the transfer quantities, copy quantities, or clear quantities buttons. We can combine quantities, sectors together. We can clear out quantities. So for instance, if the client is not going to proceed with suite 801, which is sector 7, I may want to clear that out of the project now that I know that's not an option. So we want to clear sector 7. So I can clear sector 7. I want to clear sector 7. It says, do you want to clear suite 01? I click yes. I've now cleared out sector 7. Sector 7 is now empty. And so in our sectors, sector 7 is now removed. And I can remove sector 7 from multi-sector. So multi-sector D is now removed. So you can see multi-sector D is now empty. And so you can see how quickly it is to run multiple scenarios with a client, report on individual portions, report on any combination of sectors required. And then once a decision has been made on what route to go down, you can very quickly manipulate the cost plan to reflect that scenario and then start the cost planning process as a whole. I'll show you one other example. This time it is based on a project that has a combination of tenant works and landlord works. So in this project, we have a 3-level tenant fit out work, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And then the tenant may be negotiating with the landlord at this point in time. And so there may be some landlord scopes that are going to be included, but they may not be included. And so we've priced up an intertenancy wall on level 2. we've priced up some base build upgrades, and we've priced up some lobby works. And so we have some tenant works, some lobby works, and some other things like job costed overheads, bike line items, some stretch targets. We've broken that up into our sectors, and we've priced that work up in sectors. If I look at my summary per sector, I can see the individual portions. So I can see the fees, the prelims. I can see level 1 tenant works, level 2 tenant works, level 3 tenant works. I can see the intertenancy wall. I can see the base building upgrades. I can see the lobby works. I can see different profitability on each portion of those works. And then in the multi-sectors area, because we may be negotiating with the landlord, we don't know what works are going to be in scope, what's going to be out, what's the landlord going to do, what's the tenant going to do, how much space the tenant's going to take. We can take those individual sectors and combine them into multi-sectors to run multiple scenarios at the one time. So I'm going to run a scenario where we combine the tenant and the landlord work. So we're going to combine all the tenant work and the landlord work, which is sectors 1 to 8 and the bike line item sector 10. I'm going to present a report that is only tenant work, because the tenant may say, well, if we don't do any of the landlord works in our contract, what will it look like? So that will be sectors 1 to 5 plus the bike line items. The landlord may need to see what's the contribution they need to give to the tenant if the tenant does the landlord work. So I need to produce a cost plan that just isolates the landlord works. So I'm going to combine sectors 6, 7, and 8 into multi-sector C. And then the landlord may also say, well, we may get you to do some of the works, but not all of the works. And so I'm going to run scenarios where we do, the tenant does the intertenancy wall and the base build upgrades, the intertenancy wall and the lobby, or the upgrades in the lobby. So any combination of those works, but not all of them. And I've created those scenarios here. And so when we go to our multi-sectors, you can now see in these scenarios, I'll just zoom out, I have my all sectors, which may not be a realistic scenario, but I can see my combined tenant and landlord work is 4.2 million at 27% gross profit. My tenant works is 3.3 million. My landlord works is 900,000. The intertenancy wall and base build upgrades is 556,000. The intertenancy works in the lobby is 457,000. The base build upgrades in the lobby is 800 odd thousand. So I have these multiple scenarios that I am analyzing. Again, I can see different GPs at different levels, and the rest. I can go to my reports. I can produce reports on an individual basis. I can also produce those reports on the multi-sector scenarios. And so I can very easily assist the landlord and the client in their negotiations. What is in, what is out, what combination, what scenario should we run? And in this instance, let's say the tenant comes back to us and they've said, look, we've renegotiated, we've finally agreed our lease. The landlord's going to do all their own works. So that is now out of scope. And we've actually looked at the amount of space we need. We don't need levels 1, 2, and 3. We're only going to take levels 1 and 2. So can you quickly show me, I've got a board meeting in 15 minutes. Can you quickly give me a cost plan of what does that look like? And in any other system, it would be multiple spreadsheets or multiple instances of a program that you're manipulating to manually get together. Whereas in this instance, we can create a quick scenario calling tenant level 1 and 2. So tenant level 1 and 2 only. Tenant level 1 and 2 is a 2,500 square meter project. And so tenant 1 and 2, it's going to be my fees, my prelims level 1 and 2. So I'm looking at sectors 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll do the bike line items 10. So I want sectors 1, sectors 2, sectors 3, sectors 4, and I want sector 10, that by client items that the client wants to track outside the contract. So I've created multi-sector G in about 30 seconds. The client's called me, run a scenario. I've created that scenario because I've been able to price the project in those portions. I go look at multi-sector G in my multi-sectors tab. I can see multi-sector G. That combination is a $2.7 million project, sitting at 23% or $640,000 profit. Now, interestingly, reducing the tenant work and taking off level 3, I can see very quickly my multi-sector B was the same scenario, but it included level 3. That was a $3.36 million project versus a $2.7 million project. So we're reducing by about $600,000. But interestingly, my gross profit is dropping from 25.9% or $873,000 to 23%. So over 2% gross profit reduction, and $639,000 versus $873,000. So over $200,000 less. So by reducing the scope of level 3, I can see internally my profitability position. And that is because if we look at level 3 individually, level 3 was quite a profitable sector. It was sitting at 38% gross profit. And so by removing level 3, we've removed a high profitability portion of the works. Now, it took me a matter of seconds to understand the implication of that. And maybe I'm running multiple scenarios at once. And so I'm fully armed and aware when I'm informing the client of multiple scenarios. So the client needs the cost plan to show this scenario. I now need to understand what we're only doing our own works. We're only doing levels 1 and 2. Can I have a quick cost plan to take to the board? That's multi-sector G. I can come into the reports. I click summary report. I can click a level of detail, more levels of detail. I can click a summary report for multi-sector G. And just like that, we've created a cost plan that reflects the tenant level 1 and 2 works. I've created my summary page, the 2.7 million. I can see the by client items, $3.494 million. The client can take that to their board, request $3.5 million capex, sign that off and get on with the project. Now we understand the project is now tenant level 1 and 2 works. So I now want to come into my cost plan and I want to change this scenario to only reflect tenant works 1 and 2. So I'm going to come back to my correct cost plan. So I only want to reflect tenant works level 1 and level 2. So I need to remove sectors 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll keep my job cost overheads. I'll keep my by client items and I'll keep my stretch targets. So we're going to remove sectors 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm going to clear quantities 5. I'm going to clear quantities 6. I'm going to clear quantities 7. I'm going to clear quantities in sector 8. And now the project, as you can see in our sectors now, you can see I have my total project, I have my fees, my prelims, I have level 1, I have level 2. I've now cleared out level 3 into tenancy works, base build upgrades, lobby works. I've kept my job costed overheads. I've kept my by client items and my stretch targets. So now the all sectors reflects the 2.739 million plus the by client. So now the cost plan reflects, all the sectors reflect the true value of the project. So I can then clean it up. I can now remove these works here. I can close those sectors up. I can now look at the project as a whole. Now I could combine levels 1 and 2 together into a single sector, and you may want to do that. But again, by keeping them in individual sectors, it gives me flexibility and a level of analysis, a more granular level of analysis than if I just combined it together. And there's no point in just combining it together because I've combined them together in multi-sectors. So in multi-sectors, I'm now going to remove these scenarios because these reflected the old scenarios. So I'm clearing out my multi-sectors. So there we are. We've cleared out our multi-sectors. So I go to my multi-sectors tab. You can see it's all empty. And now I might want to understand, while I have level 1 and level 2 individual for my own level of analysis, I do want to see level 1 and 2 combined to the client. So here I want to combine sector 3 and sector 4. So now in my individual summary per sector, I can see level 1 and level 2 separately. 1.5 million and 715,000, 25% profit and 23% profit. But in multi-sectors, I can see it together. It's 2.2 million at 25. So the 1.5 and the 700,000. And then with the client, when we report to the client, we may report to the client the project as a whole, the fees, the prelims, and then the client may not want to see, or we may not want to show level 1 and 2 individually. We may want to show it just combined. And so I can pick the combined version. And so the report that we'll produce will combine levels 1 and 2. So you have complete flexibility and customization in how we report to the client as well. So I hope that gave you a good understanding of sectors within CostrixIQ. It gives you flexibility and data manipulation, analysis and reporting at a very granular level. And then multi-sectors, in effect, gives you an unlimited number of ways of breaking a project up and reporting and analyzing on them without having to replicate any work whatsoever. It's just putting different sectors together in different combinations. If there's anything else or any more you want to understand around sectors or multi-sectors, or if you want to inquire about CostrixIQ in general, please feel free to reach out.